Hey everyone, welcome to the PCS-Proof Podcast, where we're covering the vital things you need to know to thrive in every season of military life. I'm your host and milspouse fitness expert, Grace Barnick-Damazo, and I encourage you to join me each week as we dive deep into topics like fitness, wellness, and entrepreneurship as a military spouse so that you can maintain your own sense of identity and purpose, conquering every transition with strength and resilience. As we journey together, you can expect uplifting conversations and insights. We'll share some laughs, and you can count on me to keep it real so that together we can become truly PCS-proof. Now let's get into it. Welcome to another episode of the PCS-Proof Podcast. Today I am beyond excited for our guest, a true powerhouse of social impact and entrepreneurship, Moni Jefferson. Moni is not only the founder and CEO of AMSE, which is the Association of Military Spouse Entrepreneurs, but she's also an active duty Air Force spouse and a serial entrepreneur who is dedicated to her career of empowering military spouses globally. Since at least 2014, she has been a pivotal force building and scaling programs designed to help military spouses create their own businesses, breaking through barriers of unemployment and underemployment that often plague our community. And in her journey, Moni has been recognized nationally, even being invited to the White House, and has been featured in Military Spouse magazine, as well as a long list of other accolades. She's collaborated with major partners like Amazon Military and USAA, securing funding and growth opportunities for military spouse entrepreneurs. Through AMSE, she's created a supportive space that not only connects spouses to resources, but also helps them find their purpose beyond just a career. And here's a fun fact. Moni's entrepreneurial spirit doesn't just stop at AMSE. She's also the creative mind behind several tech innovations, including military lifestyle apps like the My Ultimate PCS and Mil Emoji, proving that she's not afraid to be innovative and lead in multiple arenas. She has been a military spouse for 23 years now, which is amazing, and also grew up as a child within Mil life. So I know that you're going to get a ton of wisdom from Moni by listening to this episode. And Moni, you're going to have to forgive me because your resume is quite formidable, so I couldn't fit everything into this intro, but hopefully we can get into many of your ventures and accomplishments during our conversation. So I encourage you to brag a little bit. Welcome, Moni. So excited to have this time with you. Thank you so much for spending it with us.
Absolutely. After following up after that, I'm like, it's like ask you to put a bio together and then you forget that people are actually going to read it.
You have, yeah. And this is we're just tapping into like the top layer of stuff, like the highlight reel, but you have so many things. It was just hard to compile it down into one concise little intro. So I'm super excited to get into more. In episode 23 of this podcast, we actually talked about the economic impact and the importance of military spouse-owned businesses on our economy, and why it's so important for military spouses to seek entrepreneurship as an alternative to traditional career paths. So I think that everything that you're going to have to say today is going to be extremely important and impactful. Not to put that much pressure on you, but I'm really excited to hear your take and hopefully get a lot of more women taking this path. If you don't mind, I'm just going to kind of ask you to share a little bit about your personal journey and what inspired you to start your marketing, PR, business development company within the military community and serving us as military spouses.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a question that sometimes, like, when I'm thinking about it, I remember different things because I feel like there's so much that's happened between starting and being here. Before I started Dog Tags and Heels, which started out as a blog, I was a stay-at-home parent. Like, I stayed at home. My husband's active duty, and I was really happy in that season. I love being a stay-at-home parent. it's something that like I wish I had when I was a kid. And so being able to do that for my kids and not have to have two working parents, have parents come home, they're exhausted. And, on the weekends, all you're doing is cleaning and running errands. And so for me, I was really excited and really happy to be able to provide what either way, it was nurturing environments that were just different. And so being able to be there for my kids when they're sick or be home and be prepping dinner and run errands and just be there to watch them have their first steps and be the parent that's taking care of the kids was like really, really important for me. And I understood that in that season that that's where I was meant to be. And what I did for that exterior kind of like external validation, and if you call it validation, or for me, it was more like the extrovert, like kind of making sure that my pot was filled, was always starting like different MLMs everywhere I went, or starting groups everywhere I went, like the MOPS, that Christian organization for, or being, the lead of a new Girl Scout troop, and just always finding ways to build community in some way. But honestly, it was right, just building a little family around me everywhere I went. Like when I look back on it in hindsight, it was like, I knew I was moving somewhere. I needed to get involved. How could I do that? And these were the ways that I did it. And of course, like I feel, starting those MLMs, sometimes, you made the best of friends. I mean, I started like Estella and Dot, and the spouse that got me into it, her and I are still the best of friends, like 7 years later. And our kids know each other, and it's just so great. So, but at the time when I started Dog Tags and Heels, my husband was deploying. And so I really just wanted to create a way to start writing about military life from a very positive experience, versus a lot of blogs on there at the time were like sharing all of the stuff that like people don't know about. Like back in 2014, 2013, like people were talking about military life, but it was not in a light where it was like, hey, it's an optimistic perspective. And I wanted to share it from that way.
Absolutely.
And I started writing. When I started writing and sharing the blog, just like on my social media, organizations started to reach out to me to write for their military base housing blogs. And so my first check, I shared this the other day, was only $75 for my first blog that I wrote. And that was really changed the trajectory of like what I thought was not possible. And just getting that $75 really just changed my life. It made me feel like, hey, I have that skill, I have a talent, I went to school for this, like I should do more. And that's when I started to see like there was opportunity. And that's when I started a Facebook group for military spouse small businesses called the Mill Spouse Creative. And I just needed some help. And if I knew I needed help, other people needed help. And that's when I started to work and meet other military spouses. And my background's in PR and communications. That's what I have a degree in. And just like really helping them in that way. Like, hey, this is a media kit. You should do this if you're pitching. You should do that. And the blog became a PR company, because then, people were asking me to help them and support them in that way. And that was really great. Then I started working for Military Spouse Advocacy Network. I was a volunteer. I was a director of marketing and PR. And that really catapulted everything I was doing after that, because being able to be a part of such an organization, and she's such a great mentor of mine. And it's really because of her that I grew my PR business into what it has become, and into who I am today, because I learned so much from Vernice and her leadership and how she was getting involved in the community with like what her purpose and passion was. And I was like, I want to do that too. How can I be a part of it? And I just had a call with her like a week ago, and I just told her, it's like, I am so grateful for you. Like, I think we forget, and this is what I said, I think we forget and we get lost in like the muddle and the busyness and the, like, you're just growing and growing.
Yeah.
When you have a minute to sit back and like, just turn around and say thank you to the people who pulled you alongside. Like Vernice is very successful, her nonprofit organization, but she's put in a lot of years work. And so knowing her story and being a part of that organization, and then being able to use that platform to grow my organization and my skill set has been impeccable. So, I grew that Facebook group. I started volunteering for MSAN. I started taking on more PR clients that were in the military organization because they saw I was working with MSAN. So I started to gain clients and organizations in our military spouse community. And as I was doing that, something was shifting in the community because I was doing that in such a very short, fast amount of time. And so spouses started to ask questions, and I would send them to all of these organizations that were there to support them. Now, I will say this. At the time, I did not take any of the programs that are offered right now to grow and learn to start a business. I went to the YouTube and I went to the small businesses that were already doing it in a successful way. And I was learning to duplicate those services my way. So I was doing a lot of investing time in learning about going down their funnel, learning their systems, learning what's working. Okay, I'm putting these pieces together. So I was sending them to all these programs, and they were coming back and they were like, yeah, but that didn't, it just told me how to get an EIN, told me how to do an analysis. What is my purpose? Like all of those basic things that you do need. It's so important as a business owner to have that foundation and then build on it, because when the foundation cracks, it can still kind of hold everything else up, right? You can always come back and maybe fix a little bit of it. So I was like, what is happening? So then I started to do some research and investigation, and I started to sign up and take these programs and join these events. And I was like, yeah, there's nothing here. So at the time, I really just decided to invest into the Facebook group, have speakers come in. I started doing like weekly and daily prompts, like collaboration thread, like what do you have to offer? Like how can we help each other grow in this Facebook group? Do you have a special? Do you have an offer you're selling this week? Like, what can I do? And so I just started doing daily prompts. I started doing weekly lives just to start getting the word out and start really pouring into spouses that really wanted to start a business and had no idea what to do or where to start, because they were told to go and start wasn't really helping them learn to make money. That's what we do at the Association of Military Spouse Entrepreneurs. So yeah, that's really how that trickled down and how it all started. And it's been quite a journey from there. The Facebook group ran for a few years, and then I started to see that like they need more help. Like, how can we invest more time and really help them? And I started the Association of Military Spouse Entrepreneurs in 2019. Specifically to really help them dig deep and learn to make money in their business instead of giving them the surfaced, fluffy, check the box stuff to say we did something to help spouses.
There's so much in that. Thank you for sharing all of that. That was it's inspiring because sometimes we get stuck. I think most people get stuck they get stuck before they even get started. They get stuck at the legal stuff. They get stuck with where do I start that I don't have to invest a ton of money in order to start seeing a return. I can't do that right now, so I can't start at all. And what I'm hearing from you is you just kind of started from a very altruistic, but also you were just trying to find community. And then once you started taking action, then that started to lead you down this path. And once you started down that path, it just kind of snowballed and led you in a direction. And I think that's really important because we don't have to have a path laid out for us. There is no path laid out for us. We're military spouses. We're always trying to figure it out on the go anyway. So I think that's really an important lesson to learn from you, is that you've been so successful, but it wasn't because you had, here's the perfectly laid out plan that I have to follow. But now you're doing that for us in return.
Yeah, I mean, we try. You said something really important. It's action. I talked about this the other day, is taking action. And what I noticed in the last 10, 11, 12, maybe 12 years of working with spouses is a lot of them are not taking action because they think it has to be perfect. They think it has to be a great plan. They think they have to know everything. And they think they have to have confidence too. I think confidence comes from just taking action. Like, let's use the podcast, for example. Every time you've published a podcast, you've gone back, you've listened to it, you did the work, then you're like, okay, next time I'm going to do this because this will be better. And then next time I'm going to do that. And every time you publish it, you get more and more confident in your speaking, your preparation, what you do after the post. It takes the action to do it. And yes, a lot of spouses get stuck in that and they don't, then when they don't see things moving, their confidence goes down, but it's because they're not taking action to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's such an interesting, it's like somebody posted, one of my chapter leaders posted the other day. She's like, I think that you need to have confidence before you take action. I said, well, I mean, I think it depends on the person because it's like what comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? So it's,
Mm-hmm.
I think, just dependent on the person and dependent on what their expectations are. But yeah, action is really all it takes,
Yes.
honestly.
Imperfect action will lead you a lot further than nothing at all.
It
Not even taking
will.
that first step. And I like that you use the podcast because that's for me as a recovering perfectionist. I would have in my previous grace would have waited until I knew how to speak properly. I knew how to do editing properly. I had all the systems laid out. I never would have started a podcast if I had
Yep.
waited for all those things to be in place. So yeah, it's a perfect
Yeah.
example. And you recently took some time off from the really in-depth AMSE work, being really in the organization, really working on it because you just went through a PCS. You're still kind of in transition, is that correct?
Yes, hence my background.
We know that background. We
I put the
understand.
boxes up in the front. I was like, they can't see the boxes.
And your computer is propped up on whatever you can
Yeah,
find to
yeah,
get it in
but
place. Yep, we know that. So can you tell us what strategies you had to put in place to allow you to be able to take that time off and be able to maintain your sanity and move across the country?
yeah. So I don't know if this is a strategy, but the number one thing I had to tell myself is like practice what I preach. So like giving myself grace is something that I had to give myself. And this was in May. We made a very last minute decision to move and get things going in 90 days. And so in 90 days, I had to decide what I was going to do. So first thing I did was like just give myself grace. And I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves and how we show up and when we don't show up. And I think that in today's society, it is okay to not show up. And I think knowing that whatever is meant for you, whether you are doing it or not, as long as you are consistent. And so one of the things I did was just give myself grace. Second thing I did was look at my calendar and everything that I had in my inbox that did not provide me with any ROI. And what I mean by that was if it did not make me money in the next few weeks, it does not get done because I cannot be doing things that are going to make me stressed, make me feel like obligated. And so a lot of it I pulled back from because it wasn't bringing me any ROI. Instead of focusing on those, I shifted my mindset and my action to focus on things that were bringing me ROI. So it did mean that I was going to kind of be out of the inner workings of AMSE every single day. But it didn't mean that AMSE wasn't running because it always opened. And then the third thing I did was it was running because a lot of it is on automation. It is on done ahead of time. I work ahead of time. And so that's what I decided to do. So I would definitely say giving yourself grace. I don't know if that's a strategy, honey. If it's a strategy, you need to make it a strategy, write some tips down and work it
Yeah.
out. Um,
Yeah.
Second thing is if it's not bringing you any ROI, take it off your list for the next few weeks. I think early in business, we're always worried that we're going to miss an opportunity if we do take time off, if we're not there, if we don't answer the email, we don't answer the call, we work on days we say we're not going to work on because we need to invest in ourselves and in our family and whatever, but they're always going to be there. There's always going to be opportunities that are meant for you. And then the AI technology, the automation, having those things in place and learning more about them is really, really powerful.
Hmm.
So I would say that's the way I was able to do it.
I mean, those were three really good ones. And when you were talking about taking things that didn't have an ROI, that hit me really hard for some reason because I need to learn how to do that. Um,
It's hard.
yeah, it's really hard. And I do believe in this idea of every time you say yes to something, you're automatically saying no to something else. And what I'm kind of hearing is similar to what you're saying, which is that you're really strategic about what you're saying yes to and what you're saying no, not right now to. It's not
Yeah.
a no, a hard no, but it's a not right now. I'll deal with that later.
Right. Mhm.
And that's a big one. So I'm going to remember that one. That was a really big tip.
Yeah. But it's hard to say no when you really want to do it, you know?
Mm.
Like if something you really want to do, it's hard to say no. Like I said no to 2 events that I was asked to, one to speak at and one to attend. I said no because I want to invest in getting my life situated. And those opportunities will come next year. And so I wanted to say yes to myself and my family and my home in this season than other people. So it takes time, but once you start saying no and then you really write down, why is this triggering me? Why do I feel like I need to be there or saying yes to this? And if you really, really, really are honest with yourself and you dig deep, it will uncover internal things that you are working through,
Ah,
like the feeling of being left out, the feeling of not looking a certain way, the feeling of like those types of things. But those things are not going to fix that, right? So just like really being aware, self-aware of that. So why do you feel like if you're not going to this event, you're missing out?
mhm.
And then to remember there's always there's a continuum of things that are going to come your way. So
And
those
I
are
think
all
that's
things
where
I learned.
your many years as a seasoned military spouse and a military child are really coming through, because as you're talking, I was thinking like that is something that comes from the civilian world. We're used to being able to say yes to everything because there's not as much fluctuation, there's not as much chaos.
Mhm.
And that's that creeping in. But we as military spouses can't live in that world. So it's a skill we have to learn if we're going to maintain our sanity. And speaking of your years as an active duty mil spouse, I know you've been through some stuff. So maybe this is a nice transition. I wanted to hear maybe kind of some of the challenges that you have faced, the biggest challenges that you faced when it comes to maintaining and running a successful company and many businesses, many multiple businesses. What lessons did you learn that helped you overcome some of those challenges?
Wow, this is good because there's a lot of challenges that I
Mm,
overcome. Gosh, I would say like the first challenge that I came into when I started like my PR business was coming into a space where you're a new person. First of all, you're new in the community as like actively doing something and trying to create a lane for yourself. You're also a woman, that is also, something that was brought to my attention several times, and also being a woman of color. And
mhm.
so having all of those things, and seeing differences and opportunities not being offered to me and or taken from me only really validated the reason why I was where I'm at now, right? So that was a challenge I had to overcome. That was really, really hard, breaking into a new space. And then, all of those other things like, who does this person think she is?
Yeah.
Or, not taking, there are organizations that, are just now taking me seriously, right? Because there are so many spouses that start businesses that are impactful, that are mission driven. And then because of the consistency or the inaction, they don't stay in business. And so I would say that's a big one for me, just really getting in there and doing what you want it to do, and then thinking like you're going to get this huge array of support. And in the beginning, it's not that people don't want to support you, it's that they're watching. So I call it like kind of like introverts. My husband's an introvert. My daughter is too, my second child. And so she said something really powerful the other day. She's like, I've been in school for a couple of weeks now, and now I'm understanding the dynamics of the new school that I'm in. And she says, it's because I sit back and I watch. And so I'm watching. And, that's what people are doing. When you're new to a community and you're saying you're doing this really big, audacious thing that like people are like, you're crazy. Good luck with that. It's hard. Yeah, it is hard. But people are watching. What are you doing? What's your thing? Who are you? And people want to do that because they want to make sure that they can trust who you are. People want to make sure that they can invest their time and effort in who you are. And they also want to make sure that they're aligned with your values and goals, right? And so I would say in the beginning, you have to stay consistent. And that is a challenge that I overcame. That challenge specifically overcame with consistency. So if you are starting a business and you're not getting that big warm and fuzzy that you thought you were, there's a lot of information out there. So just keep at it. And the people that are meant for you will come. I would say a second one that I ran into later in my kind of starting AMSE was just to really be smart about who you give your gifts to, right? Who you allow to be a part of your organization and help you grow your baby and help you learn more. And so the bigger your company gets, the more people you have to bring in to help you and help you make your dream come true. So it's really just so important to align yourself and bring people into your organization and collaborate with and partner with that align with your values and norms. And your mission is important. But most importantly for me, it is really my values and norms. I am a Christian, I am a person of color. I think that I serve a very niche, very powerful community. And so anybody that comes into the organization has to understand that. They have to be empathetic. They have to be willing to learn new things. And it doesn't always work out, and that's okay. So second one would be, hire slow, fire fast. And the what I would say is the challenges that come are always coming. So when you're growing, you're always going to have challenges. You don't have challenges, you better start shaking something up because you're complacent. Things are getting too easy. You should always be in some place where you're like feeling challenged or feeling you have to pivot or feeling like this is new to me as you grow as a business owner, because that gets you to the very next level and to the next level. So when you feel like it's the hardest, that's where the growing season is. So just stay really consistent, stay diligent in what you're supposed to be doing, because then what happens is you start saying, oh, well, maybe I should not do this anymore. Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should not do this. You know what I mean? So like, you have to understand what your higher purpose is and what you're doing, because when I'm calling it a season of drought comes, you're still tilling, you're still doing stuff. And you're like, where's the water? It's coming, but you're preparing the ground for growth. And I think if we look at it that way, instead of like, I screwed up, this is a bad idea, nobody did this, and just really complaining, I know that you flourish from there, because it has happened several times in my business. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I 1000% agree. There's so many times where you feel like this is the time, nothing's working. This is the time to give up. And as a coach, I am always trying to remember that my clients feel the same way at many times, that I'm not seeing progress. It must not be working. When in the reality, I have, a history in business and in life that's not true. It's like this, it's just the season, and the season's going to end, and you're going to move on to the next season, and you're going to be so glad that you didn't give up. And I also was thinking while you were talking about being a partner to someone who's in the military, and I always think about the fact that the big difference between military spouses and active duty or civilians and active duty is that they can't quit. Military can't quit. And as a partner to someone who's in the military, what you're saying is we kind of have to do the same thing. We can't just quit. We need to stay in there and be willing to see it through, even though we don't like what is currently happening with the mission of our business, but we have to stay in there just like they do.
Yeah. And it's the stories, if you really take a minute to read stories of successful entrepreneurs and businesses, they've all had these seasons. It is a very common thread in everybody's story. And you just have to realize that the difference between them and you in that season is you're continuing to take action and staying consistent. And so that I think makes the world I know that that makes the world of difference, because so many leaders and entrepreneurs have had these seasons, and this is just normal.
And it's the difference between those who are successful and those who never see success. It's just a willingness to grit it out, stay in
Yeah.
there, grit it out. Yeah, you
Facts.
don't have to be the best. Yeah, I think that's the story of my life. Is I've always liked being the number two, because I like a little bit of grit. I like to have something to strive for and just, stay in there for
I
it.
love that. I love that.
Maybe I have one more question and then I have a quick little thing to finish with. So I would love to hear, if you don't mind sharing with us, what are your big goals and visions for AMSE in the future, or for any of your businesses, and your role in supporting entrepreneurship in the military community? Can you give us the insider info?
I have so many dreams.
Hmm.
No, I would say for the Association of Military Spouse Entrepreneurs, I would really love for it to leave an imprint, um, and more than just a membership, right? I would love for it to leave an imprint in our country's society, to really recognize, celebrate, and really provide deep rooted resources and financial support for military spouses to start businesses. It is really, really hard as a military spouse to start a business. I think that the current landscape is very blinded by programs that are currently, serving in their capacity to what they know, that is not really, um, having a domino effect. And we really need resources and actual, support that is going to help us in the long term, not just a short term fix. And what I'm finding is a lot of things that are happening in our community are short term fixes. And it gets a lot of recognition, it gets a lot of celebration, but then it goes kind of back to the norm. And that's not going to change until we change policy and we make people implement and do things that are going to actually benefit, our military spouse, which in turn builds the economy of our military community and our military families, which helps with the retention rate. So until somebody actually sees that and stops thinking that the veteran services help the military spouse in the same capacity, we're going to have the same problem, because the unemployment rate's been the same for decades.
Yeah,
So let's have a
absolutely.
conversation about that. Like, if it's not working, then something's wrong. So maybe where you're investing money, where we're investing time into organizations and programs that we think are working, are maybe not the solutions we thought they were. And so yeah, that's my big one. And I would love to be a part of something like that, where it blesses and takes care of spouses behind us, from the jump. And for AMSE just to be global, a global name, like a household name, like, oh, you're not part of AMSE. Oh my gosh, like, I would love people to be like, you're not part of AMSE. Like, how dare you? That's my big audacious goal. Like, you don't have Facebook? That's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, that would be great.
Okay. No, I like that. I mean, to me, you're a household name, but you're right. We need to have more people understand. And I also was thinking, sorry, I have a lot of thoughts, because you bring up so
No,
many
you're
good
fine.
points, and it's definitely something I'm passionate about as well, because it's not just the entrepreneurs. It's not just the people who are willing to take on that risk, and start the businesses, but you're hiring other military spouses and providing an income to other military families. And so I don't think that the wider world understands that not only do we already have a major impact on the economy as entrepreneurs, military spouse entrepreneurs, but we're also hiring people, which is a major challenge, a massive challenge. We are one of the highest populations with unemployment rates. So
We are.
if people are not already on board, if you're listening to this episode and you don't already know what a big problem this is, I hope you now understand that this is not just for those of you who are in career paths already. This is impacting your friends, your fellow milispouses, your neighbors, everyone. This is a really big, important thing. So thank you, Moni, for spearheading it for us.
Well, hey, hold up. I'm doing it with a lot of other people. Don't give me all that responsibility.
It's on you.
There's a lot of organizations doing so many great things. And I think at the
Absolutely.
end of the day, they want to stop filling a pothole with sand and actually tear it apart and build a new road and be okay with that. And I think that seems to be the problem. We keep just putting more sand. Okay, went down, let's pack some more sand. Let's kind of pack everybody down, pat them on the back. Okay, we did this, now be quiet. I feel like that's the constant. And we really just need a brand new road, like a new
Hmm.
road. And if we get a pothole, we're gonna put cement in it, because that's what we deserve as military spouses. We do
Yeah.
deserve the best.
Make it easier for us. Stop putting so many
Yeah.
barriers in our way. We're overcoming them because we're resourceful, but make it easier for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Looking for a more meaningful way to shop this holiday season? This year, let's skip the Black Friday chaos and make it more personal with Pink Friday, a shopping day created just for communities like ours. Pink Friday is all about celebrating and supporting small businesses. When you shop on this day, not only do you snag amazing deals, but you can also directly support a military spouse-owned small business and the military family behind it. Here's where it gets exciting. Over at FitPath Coaching, we're getting ready to roll out the best deals of the year on our fitness and nutrition programs designed specifically for you. These Pink Friday offers are still top secret, but here's a hint. They're going to be incredible. Want first dibs? Join our Pink Friday priority notification list today. Sign up and you'll be the first to know about deals from the only fitness and nutrition coaching company made just for military spouses. Plus, I have a few surprises up my sleeve for everyone on the list. So don't miss out. Go to fitpathcoaching.com, click the banner, and add your name to the priority notification list. Let's make our holiday shopping truly matter this year. Shop small, shop MilSpouse owned, and let's kick off the season with some MilSpouse magic this Pink Friday. Head to fitpathcoaching.com now to get on the list and grab my best deals of the year. See you there. Okay, so if you don't mind, Moni, I like to end the episode with a little quick fire round, just a fun, quick few questions, just to get your spur of the moment, candid thoughts. Is that all right?
Okay, I'm ready. I do
Okay.
not promise that what I say is going to be, um, might
I
not be
expect
bad since it's rapid
poetry.
fire.
Yeah. So I was curious, what habits or activities, routines have kept you grounded? We call them on this podcast your stable rocks. What keeps you grounded amidst the chaos of military life?
I would say two things. The first thing is my faith. I am, like I said earlier, I'm a Christian, and I really do believe that everybody here on earth has what God has given to them to do. And that if, like, He's just not going to set us up for failure. It doesn't exist, right? Like, if you're obedient and you follow. So I would say my faith is a really, really big one. And I would say, like, my second one would be my family, from like my mom, who is a military spouse. And she like looks at everything I'm doing and she's like, what? Oh my gosh, like, I wish I had this. And so I would say my mom and my husband and yeah, my kids. Like, my family is super involved in my business, especially my family here and my mom. So I would say that. And I would just say, like, another thing I would say that keeps me grounded is um, pouring into myself and investing in myself. And I feel like we don't have a lot of those conversations. We talk about self care, but we don't talk about investing in yourself, whether it is time or it is financially for growth and development. I feel like that keeps me humble and keeps me grounded too. It just reminds me, like, I still have room to grow. And yeah, so I would say those
Hmm.
things.
Those were great. I love that. What is one piece of advice that you'd give to other military women and spouses who are considering starting their own business?
Basically, I feel like the whole conversation we had was about taking action,
Mhm.
and staying consistent. And I really feel and believe that if you get over the facade that we're supposed to be a certain way on social media and a certain way as a business owner and a certain way about this and that, and you peel that off and you remove that layer and stop making it about you and start making it more about your product or service, I feel like that will really help people or help you take more action. Like just that really, when you remove yourself from what you were put here to do on this earth, whether it's create that amazing savvy product or, run a savvy organization, when you remove yourself from it and what people are going to think or what people are going to say, or if you fail, I feel like that action is what really where the magic happens. So I would say just release and remove and surrender it, whatever your fear is, whatever your inward critique is, whatever anybody's ever said to you about what you've created or done, I would say just take action and remove that. And I promise you, you're going to be successful because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is that gift and talent. When you don't share that gift and that talent, you are selfishly keeping that for yourself, and that talent and that gift has been given just to you in your specific way that you're supposed to be putting out into the world. So don't let the world mess you up.
You can't see the video of me, but I'm like, amen. That is, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
you're shaking your
like
head. I mean, it's
you
true.
have, yeah, you have to have this like slightly like healthy, bordering on unhealthy level of delusion just to get going. But you're doing the world a disservice if you're not
Mhm.
sharing your skills,
Yeah.
your talents, your information, all of that with the world.
Yeah, because somebody's waiting. Somebody's waiting for
Someone
your
needs
attention.
you.
Someone needs you to be their coach. Somebody needs you to show them, how to do this strategy and to make your whatever come to life. Like somebody needs you. Somebody's waiting for you.
Mm.
In the sea of all of the stuff that's online, there are people waiting for you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay. Favorite duty station.
Charleston, South Carolina.
All right. Dream duty station.
Oh gosh, that would have been like, mm, I would either say like Japan or Germany.
Yeah, those are both great ones. And for Air Force, I can say Japan is a great one. Go-to karaoke song. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Oh wow. I really like trap music. I don't think anybody I would say like Rough Riders or something crazy like that. Like I am in like I love, I mean that's just like my jam, but I would say that and or like Moulin Rouge, like really fun stuff like that that lets you like get sassy and be kind of uninhibited in like your words and stuff. I just think that's always fun.
Okay, so yours isn't like the emotional ballad
Yeah.
karaoke room. Yours
Mine
is
is
the party
like,
room.
yeah.
And then my last question, what does it mean to you to be PCS proof?
Hmm. I feel like for me, it means that whatever it is that's happening during your PCS, you're able to pivot because you have the flexibility to change things on your end. So just being able to, if things don't happen the way you want them to, that that there's another day, there's another week, there's another opportunity that's going to come because you have built this life and this business around being able to pivot. And so, yeah, that's for me what being able to just bob and weave wherever you're going. And if it doesn't go the way you want it to, just be able to pick up the next day.
Hmm.
Keep going.
That's our superpower. I
It
love that.
is.
Well, thank you so much, Moni. I really appreciate your time. I know everyone that's listening was hopefully insanely inspired to go out and start or push forward in their business. And I'm going to make sure to include all of the links for where you can find you, Moni, and how they can get connected with AMSE if they're not already. So I will make sure to link all of that in the show notes below. So I encourage everyone listening to just go and check it out. Even if you haven't started anything, you just have an idea, that is the place to go to get started. So thank you so much, Moni. I hope that we can have you back on in the future.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's schedule something for a year from now. See what we're up
Okay.
to.
Sounds
Thank you
great.
guys. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Moni. I want to extend a huge thank you again to Moni Jefferson for joining us and sharing her incredible insights and a little bit more about her story. Her work with the Association of Military Spouse Entrepreneurs, or AMSE, is creating life-changing opportunities for military spouses around the world. If you're a military spouse with a business or a dream of starting one, AMSE provides invaluable resources from training and mentorship to a supportive community that understands the unique challenges of military life. And you know that we are all about this on this podcast. I've been an AMSE member since maybe about early 2020, and it's been a constant resource at each new phase of my business. It's absolutely free for anyone to get plugged into the association and tap into the community. And there are also very affordable membership options that include added coaching, access to mentorship, and other valuable resources. And this is just for starting entrepreneurs. If you're an established business owner, an established entrepreneur in the military spouse space, this is also a great way to give back and offer your insights and your guidance to people who are a little bit earlier on in the journey. So you can also tap in, and I'm sure AMSE would be more than happy to utilize your experience. So if you're just starting out in business, this is what I would recommend to you. You should always look at hiring a coach to get you on the right path, and AMSE would be an amazing, great first investment to get you moving forward and feeling confident that you have all of the support and accountability that you need to get your dream business off the ground. So you can get connected with AMSE by visiting their website, which is amseagency.com. That's AMSE agency.com, and become part of this powerful network. And don't forget to follow Moni on social media for more inspiration and updates on her latest projects. There are a ton of them. You can find her on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Just search for Moni Jefferson or AMSE to stay in the loop. And I've included all of her handles and links for Moni in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast listening platform. Leave a quick review and share it with someone who needs a little inspiration to turn their own dream into a reality. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you next week with more important conversations, vital insights, and more tips on how to PCS-proof your journey so you can thrive in every season of military life. And remember, no matter where in the world military life sends you, together we are PCS-proof. Adios.
And here is the legal language. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to replace professional advice. The views expressed in this podcast may not be those of the host or fitpathcoaching.com. Moreover, we are not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from the use of this podcast.